John?
Well, as Councilmember Holbrook said, the information we've heard is pretty sobering, but I've been sober a long time. It makes me sober to think about a 90-year-old retired Santa Monica firefighter who is hard of hearing and losing his vision, who probably won't survive being relocated. You know, we've heard again and again from staff that we can't relocate trees because they'll die on the move. Well, the same is true of people. And if we don't request further information tonight, we are essentially saying that there is no remaining hope for the residents of Village Trailer Park. It doesn't matter to me whether there's one option or two options. That's not the point. Real estate negotiations, which apparently would be the only path left to us, are properly handled in closed session with our attorney and our negotiator. It's not really a very good idea for us to be debating that here. As for where money would come from, I think it's a little premature to be making budgeting claims when we don't even know yet whether the council will want to go forward once we've found out what the legal information may be, what it would take to acquire the property. Let's deal with that first. In any case, it's been our history in this community, and I think it's been a very successful history, to acquire and land bank land for affordable housing. And it might be possible in this case to allow the residents of Village Trailer Park to stay in their homes for the remainder of their natural lives, and at some future date convert that property to affordable housing. And we probably wouldn't be able to afford that property in 20 or 30 or 40 years, and we would have it to use for that purpose. So again, tonight, all the motion asks is that we authorize staff to do the full research and come back to us with the information for all the options, which may involve things that we decide we don't want to do, but let's get the information.
Dr. Holbrook?
You make a point that perhaps we need to be responsible for a 90-year-old retired firefighter that's blind. I'm responsible for a 91-year-old mother. You know, my sister and I are responsible for her care. I mean, we can't be responsible for everyone. You know, we can't be responsible for everyone in the city of Santa Monica. I think it's playing a card when you toss something like that out that's just really unfair.
Well, I guess we can all talk about our moms. Mine's 96, and I think it would be tough for her to move out of her home. She's aged in place to this point in her life, but in fact, she's prepared to if she needs to. The thing that troubles me about this, I understand that for seniors it is challenging to move late in life. What I think is worse, and what I think would be worse for my mom, and worse for anyone, and is particularly difficult for me to stomach for our community, is holding out unrealistic hope. That to me is very, very troubling, and it seems to me that is something that I hope unintentionally is really happening here, because the community is advocating and taking on a louder and stronger advocacy role for an option that appears to be simply unrealistic. And if the motion tonight is to pass, I think it sends a message, or it certainly has the potential to send a message to people that this is a realistic option for the city. And it's difficult for me to fathom where we would cut, what we would do in order to accumulate $22 to $30 million, whether that's off by a little bit, or some amount of money. It hardly matters. It's a boatload of money any way you cut it. One of the other things here is that I've heard loud and clear from Mr. Lozado, and have heard loudly and clearly from him from the beginning of this process 5 years ago, is that he fully intends to provide affordable housing for every single one of these tenants. And so the other piece of this is that if we were to go down the path of acquiring this property for $22 to $30 million, or possibly more, under the other circumstance, we not only spend that much money, we also lose that affordable housing new affordable housing that he is committing to provide for this community that would last for several generations. So those are the comments that I wanted to make. Mayor Pro Tem Davis?
Well, I'll be brief. I just want to say two things. One is we do have a policy in the loose of doing what we can to try and preserve the Village Trailer Park. And I do appreciate the work that staff has done, and I appreciate that Mr. Lozado has worked with staff. I think that it's apparent to me from this discussion that there has been a lot of ongoing discussions, and I'm very appreciative of that. But given that we did adopt a policy in the loose that says that we would do everything we could to try and preserve the Village Trailer Park, although I appreciate everything that Ms. Moutry and Mr. Gould have said, it did sound like there were a couple of outstanding questions that could be answered fairly easily without investing days, weeks, months, years of staff time. And so, just as we're all talking about our elderly parents, I have a 93-year-old mom. I did have to move her. It was difficult. But I would hope that, but when I did have to move her, I left no stone unturned until that was sort of the final option. And so that's really where I am. I just want to make sure that we've left no stone unturned before making this decision. And so I don't think we're asking staff to do something Herculean here. I think that it sounds like there are a few unanswered questions, and I'd like to get the answers for those.
Mr. McHugh?
Well, it's unfortunate there are only four of us here, and the two council members felt they had to leave before this was heard. I can obviously count the votes. There was the maker of the motion. I'll just close debate by saying that my mother would be 95 next month if she was still alive, and I'm pretty sure she'd be proud of me for the position I'm taking.
Let's move to a vote. But before we conclude, Councilmember O'Day made it very clear that he has a 6 a.m. flight, and I don't think we should fault him for leaving after 11 o'clock. And Councilmember Shriver made similar comments that he had somewhere he had to be early in the morning. It is unfortunate that our meetings sometimes go late. People have to leave. I've gotten up and had to leave meetings recently, and I don't think we should be criticizing one another for that. We could put this item over and hear it on another date if Councilmember McKeown wants to have a full council here.
Put it over.
Yes.
So your decision, it's a 13 item, so you'll have an opportunity to put it back on a future agenda.
I will request it be on the agenda for the 22nd.